Since the Salt Lake City PD shooting of a 13-year-old autistic boy, there's been increased scrutiny looking at how the city responds to a mental health call.
Myself and the KUTV investigative team learned that the Salt Lake City Police Department already has social workers who respond alongside police officers. Leaders say the program could use more staffing and funding, and that's something the city wants to change.
I need I believe it's called a CIT officer.
Imagine instead of this, a person calls dispatch with a mental health crisis.
Verbal domestic, 1649 West.
And gets this response.
People called and they're worried about you.
Detective Joseph Taylor and Liz Johns, a social work case manager, are part of Salt Lake City Police Department's co-response program. Together, they respond to people having a mental health crisis, experiencing homelessness, and suffering from substance abuse.
We're across from the old shelter.
This program is the first of its kind in Utah and one of 3 in the state. This year, the co-response team had made contact with 1,400 people. Last year, more than 1,700.
I think that's what you really need, is just someone to talk with you right now.
You might not have heard of this program before because it has limited hours.
So we function Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And a small staff.
Currently, we have 7 social workers and 4 officers.
Jessica Waters is the director of social work at Community Connection Center, the headquarters of the city's co-response program.
What happens if the phone rings and someone needs help at 401?
Yeah, I mean, we've still responded to calls after hours, but unfortunately we don't have enough staff. We would love to be 24/7.
The Community Connection Center told the KUTV investigative team most of the calls happen in the afternoon and into the evening.
And you're just not around. Is that a problem?
Yeah, I think it is a problem.
Without the social workers responding, the options are to call a mobile crisis unit or the police.
People's health needs, mental health needs, don't follow a set time clock. And so absolutely a potential for our expansion and for investment by the city is in a second shift, a swing shift.
In June, the city council put $2.5 million into a holding account for the co-response program. Salt Lake City Police Chief Mike Brown says the money should be used for more bodies and more training.
Why hasn't it been expanded more?
It's in its infancy.
The program started in 2016, but the chief admits expanding the program is more of a priority now due to public pressure.
Being homeless, somebody that is suffering from substance abuse addiction or mental health, which one of those is a crime? None.
He says in the last 60 years, the country lost hundreds of thousands of mental health beds.
When things go awry, when people are in crisis, who do they call?
911.
They call 911, and who do they send? They send the police.
He claims law enforcement, jails, and the prison are filling the treatment gap, and they're the most expensive, least effective option.
There's not enough support and access for mental health needs in our community or anywhere else. And so we end up sending police officers out in instances where in many times a social worker or a co-responder model would be far more appropriate.
Both the mayor and the chief say they want to double the current staff, which would give the co-response program 8 teams, meaning they could add 1 more shift. But to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they would need 24 teams, and no one can say exactly when that will happen.
My thought always goes back to state level of, are we funding housing? Are we funding mental health? Because since we aren't funding a lot of those places, it does fall on police.
Now, during our interview with Chief Brown, we asked if increasing staff could decrease the use of force incidents, and he went on to say he thinks it would.